KHR. All the hits and nothing but the hits. KHR, Los Angeles.
Hey guys, what's up and welcome to my second channel. So today we're just gonna do kind of a little update type conversation. I'm gonna tell you now, trigger warning, pretty much everything related to mental health and potentially eating disorders as well. So if those are things that you can't listen to, leave now for your own well-being. So I made a point of not talking about the general situation in the world on my channel, my main one, because I think, and a lot of my friends feel the same way, we're constantly getting updates and you can't really escape from it in a lot of places, like even on Twitter. It feels constant and I don't really want to add to that feeling of overwhelm. And also, like, there's not really much I can add. I'm not a fucking scientist, so my opinion isn't really worth a damn. But I do think it's important for me to talk about how I'm doing. I'm literally sitting on the edge of my seat. I do want to talk about how I'm doing, mainly because you guys know I try to be as transparent as possible with anything related to mental health. And that's what we're doing today. Shit has me fucked up. That is the general gist. I've been having really terrible anxiety to the point where now I feel like someone's sitting on my chest from the moment I wake up to the moment that I go to bed. A lot of the times I feel like I can't breathe, and that's just doing normal things. Like, it's not even when I'm really focusing on what has me fucked up. And as an introvert, I didn't really think it would be that bad because I don't really leave the house generally. That being said, before all of this kicked off, I had started seeing a personal trainer, so I did have a very particular routine. So I did have to leave the house at least 4 times a week to go to the gym, which is something I always did, but it's different when there's a trainer and, you know, accountability and all that. So taking that away from me suddenly was a hit. I've been extremely anxious. I had the worst panic attack of my life the other day. The last time I had a panic attack like that, I actually went to the ER because I thought I was having a stroke. Obviously, I didn't go to the ER this time. But thank God Jacob was there and he calmed me down, but it was scary. And the reason I mentioned eating disorder trigger warning is because one of the main things I was going to worry about in terms of my own mental health in this particular time is that, yes, I'm recovered from an eating disorder, but I was like, the concept of not being able to work out and being at home and being able to eat at any given point, it's not a good thing for me because I become hyper-focused on what are you eating? Can you eat that considering you can't really do what you usually do? Just like thoughts that I'm sure plenty of people have, but when you've had an eating disorder, they're more concerning because there are some things that I think are so subconscious and almost like you're used to it, kind of like riding a bike again, that you go into an eating disorder mental space without even knowing it. And I frankly don't know if that's happening to me. We'll see. Because I have that feeling on my chest, I'm never hungry. I am legitimately never hungry. And in fact, the panic attack that occurred because I started feeling lightheaded because I hadn't eaten that day and I hadn't eaten the night prior either. And when I feel lightheaded, I go into panic mode. Being lightheaded generally immediately triggers panic attacks for me because I feel like I'm losing control, and when I feel debilitated, panic attacks, and then panic disorder because I start having delusions of not being able to control my own body, and then I start freaking out and feeling like I can't control my hands or like my arms or like I might just collapse, which is not a very cool feeling. It's not very live, laugh, love of me, to be honest. So I'm still dealing with the eating thing right now because I've been forcing myself to eat to the point where I have nausea. But of course, you have to eat. I know a couple of people have said that I seem off in some of my videos, and I really don't want to project that on my first channel. And I think it's an important time to be very honest with yourself, even though that can be scary, because I do think that in this particular time, whatever you may have struggled with prior might be reappearing. And I think because everything is so anxiety inducing, some people might want to run away from the scary thing, like me with the whole eating disorder shit. But I think it's important at this point to be very honest about what our problems are, just so we can work on them and not, you know, come out of all this having a worse problem than we initially had. And it's also important to find new strategies to deal with the things that happen to you. Example, for me, going to the beach is calming. I don't go that often, but the few times I go, it helps with my anxiety. Obviously, I can't do that right now, so I have to find a different method. Animal Crossing, that's pretty good. That helps. Watching shows that are lighthearted, so on and so forth. Initially, I almost wanted to resist addressing to myself the fact that I felt like I had a block of fucking cement on my chest and that breathing was hard and that I could break down at any given minute, which happens at least once a day. It's just important to find ways to manage what you're dealing with, which I know sounds very obvious. But yeah, and I said I'd mention something positive so this video doesn't make you want to just die. There are plenty of things that in this time I've grown more appreciative of and that I've been more grateful for, because as much as shitty times are shitty, it also underlines things that you have that you may have taken for granted, or things that I guess you're so used to that you forget that they could just vanish in a second, which is such a big cliche. Apologies, I know. I've been super appreciative for my support system, my friends, my family. I've been super appreciative of the possibility of staying home, which I'm lucky I can just stay home, whereas a lot of people don't have that option, much like my husband. He still has to go to work. And it's also made me very critical of companies. How they deal with this says a lot, so I'm gonna stop supporting a bunch of companies when we get out of this. I just think this time is a time of really big evaluations about your life and your direction and what you're doing and what matters. And that can be fucking terrifying, because if there are aspects of your life that, you know, maybe you put on the back burner or that you weren't aware of, they're gonna come out now. And that can also be great, because there are plenty of things that I know I'm interested in or passionate about that I'm like, okay, well, when I can leave again, or when I can go out, or when the opportunity presents itself, I'm gonna take the opportunity. So I do think that we can use this time as positively transformative. I 100% believe that, because God knows when we get out of this, I'm gonna have a whole category of ways to deal with my anxiety and panic that I didn't have before. And I truly do look forward to that, because I think we can come out of this better. And that's not to say you have to be productive every minute of every day. You have to fucking start a new hobby. I've seen a lot of Twitter kind of saying you have the opportunity to do things. And while I think that's great and the intention is positive, it also, I think, puts a lot of pressure onto people into consistently doing shit. And that's not the case either. I just think there has to be a healthy balance, and the least pressure you can put on yourself is probably best at this given point in time. Having the general goal of just improving things is more than enough at this given point. I know that there are certain days where, for me, it's, you know, hard to get out of bed, or there are certain days where I pretty much do nothing and I feel guilty at the end of the day, because, like I said, there's those tweets or like that kind of thing in your head of, oh, I should be doing things. But it's okay to not, and if you want to play Animal Crossing for 5 hours, you know, do that. Obviously, don't turn it into an unhealthy thing, but I just think it's important to be lenient with ourselves to a certain degree, just because I feel like when there's so much external pressure, mainstream media, rumors, misinformation, if you put pressure on yourself as well, I think you are, to quote The Office, going to collapse into yourself like a dying star. And I feel like I almost reached that point recently. I'm fine, like, it's okay. But I think because I've almost reached that point, I don't want anyone else to, because it was fucking terrible. I know this wasn't that positive, but hopefully there was something of positive you could get from it, even if it's just knowing that you're not alone and that things are gonna pan out. Who knows how, but they will. And we'll come out of this and everything will be the way it needs to be. If you need to vent or whatever in the comments, you can do that. Hello, it's Editing Me. I just wanted to come in and say that none of this is to be like I'm the victim. I'm, you know, at the worst, I am so suffering. It's not that at all. It's more of like, I want to tell you guys what's going on with me. I want to be transparent and I don't want to sugarcoat things. That's not to say that I'm having the worst of this. There are plenty of people who are worse off than me, but I just want to be transparent with how I am feeling. So I hope that Makes sense. Okay, bye. If there's any content you want to see, you can let me know. I'll try and be a little more active here. I'll talk to you guys later.